What's going on, guys? Thanks for stopping by. Hope everyone's having a great day. This is Josh, as always, with Vault Hunters Union. It has almost been a week since Fallout 4 was released, and I could not have been more excited to play this game. I didn't really do a whole lot of Fallout 4 content yet, only because I wanted to take some time to play the game. I did some of my playthrough series there, and I will continue to upload that as long as you guys like it, but I really wanted to take some time to really learn and enjoy the game a little bit before I made this review. So in previous reviews and in other game versus game videos I've done, I've talked about like different categories. We are going to do that today, but in the past I've talked about things I like and don't like about them. Today I'm just going to kind of try to talk more about the things that are in the game in each category and not really try to say my own opinion on it. I just want you guys to be able to get your own opinion. So let's get started. Because this game is brand new on the market and a lot of people aren't going to be able to get it till Christmas because it was released for the holiday season, I'm not going to go into too many details on the story itself, as I really don't want to spoil it for anybody. One thing I will say is that this game has one of the most incredibly touching and emotional intro cutscenes I've ever seen before in a video game. The opening of the game, kind of though, after that is fairly slow, and in my opinion it is somewhat boring, but you guys are definitely, if you are kind of feeling the same thing, just make sure you press through it because it is more than worth it. So even though the story does get kind of off to a slow start and somewhat boring, like I said, you're going to want to press through that. I will say that so far from what I've played, it does have a really good story. I'm not too far into it just because this game has so many new things and there's so much more to do. I can tell you that it is going to be a very good story, probably typical of Bethesda games. It's probably going to have a short main story, which really isn't a bad thing. Combat in Fallout 4 is insanely improved from previous games. It really does truly play like an actual FPS now. Anyone who really played a lot of Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas knows that you really had to rely on VATS a lot just to really succeed, just because of the way enemies moved and the way the overall gunplay was done. However, now I find that no longer is the case. You no longer really have to rely on VATS at all. I've pretty much not really used it at all except for some very rare occasions. Speaking of VATS no longer causes the combat to completely pause like in Fallout 3 and in Fallout New Vegas. It now slows it down, but not really to a crawl. It is still relatively fast and can become somewhat overwhelming. You do have to make decisions very, very quickly. One thing I'm not really sure of is VATS is affected by the difficulty, like if it's a lower difficulty, if it slows down more. However, this would be something that makes sense. One of the cool things that was added in Fallout 4 is now the ability to melee with your guns. You can now pistol whip people, which is pretty cool. You no longer have to be just using melee weapons or unarmed or using guns. If an enemy comes up nice and close and too close to shoot, you can actually melee them with your gun. That'll kind of push them away, but also deal lots of damage as well. They've really enhanced and improved the customization of guns. There's now a whole ton of attachments that you can get for every single gun in the game that I've come across, except for probably special weapons. But you can get tons of sights, barrels, grips, ammo. Everything you can think of that you would get in a game like Battlefield or Call of Duty, you can now get in Fallout 4. It's really hard to find attachments. I don't know if you really can find them. Most of them have to be made, and we're going to be talking about that in a little bit. So I made a category to talk about the changes and improvements in Fallout 4, but the truth of the matter is there's way too many changes and improvements and new things in Fallout 4 to really talk about in one video. There is a previously mentioned tons of customization to not only guns but also armor. One of my favorite things that has been added to Fallout 4 is something that I think has been overlooked in a lot of other reviews, and that is the ability to see items in storage containers before actually opening them. For those of us who played Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, if you went up to, for example, a locker, you could see that there was items in it because it didn't say empty, but you had to actually activate the locker to open it and then see the items that were in it and then decide what you want to take. In Fallout 4, when you walk up to a storage container such as a locker, a desk, or a cabinet, you can see the items that are in it right there, and you can take those individual items right there instead of having to open it first. In my opinion, this just helps streamline the game and make it a much better experience. So another thing that's been added that I think is pretty cool is the ability to leave conversations with any player in the game mid-conversation. This is so that if there's a big dialogue, you can actually exit the conversation, do some looking around, find some loot while they talk, but then go back at any time, resume the conversation. This again further streamlines the game and allows multiple things to happen at one time. One of the biggest new features in Fallout 4, and something that is the most talked about and probably one of the most popular genres of video for Fallout 4 on YouTube, is the new settlement mode. This allows you to build settlements. This is you have to supply homes as well as food, power, water, etc. to entice settlers to stay there. Settlements can also become under attack, so you have to set up defense systems and traps and equip the settlers to be able to fight to defend your settlement. They can be attacked by raiders, mutants, and more, and almost any item now can be scrapped and broken down into materials to create items for your settlements, to also upgrade weapons and your armor and more. This is completely optional. There is no point in the game that you're required to do this except very early on when you have to get a small settlement going for some people you're trying to help out. This is mainly for tutorial purposes though, and other than that is not required at all. I find that scrapping items and building things is kind of drawn out and gets somewhat repetitive and boring very quick though. The voice acting is something that a lot of people were kind of concerned about at first. They thought it was going to take away from the experience, but you know, I find that the voice acting, although it is borderline cheesy at times, it is a lot better than I and probably most people expected. This is the first game in either the Elder Scrolls or Fallout series where the protagonist actually talks, and a lot of people were concerned that this would be bad or take away from the experience, but it really has done surprisingly well. So another really cool thing is that there is no repetitive voices that I have come across. If you ever played Skyrim or Oblivion and even previous Fallout games, they had many repeat actors and actresses. You could literally talk to a person, walk a little bit, and talk to someone else, and it's the exact same voice and probably even the exact same dialogue. So far in the game, I've played about 8 or 10 hours. I have not run into any of the two same voices that I could recognize, or either the same actresses or even the same dialogue. So the graphics in Fallout 4 did become a very controversial subject. It got a lot of criticism during gameplay footage shown before release. Although I believe graphics aren't everything, I'd rather enjoy my experience more than just enjoy the visuals of the game itself. Having said that though, I definitely understand people's frustration. Although the environments are better for the most part and graphics look better textured, definitely higher quality overall, but not that much better for the most part. There are quite a lot of things that are modeled very well, but a lot of things that really seem to be rushed and could have used a little bit more polishing. Having said that though, New Vegas and Fallout 3 didn't have incredible graphics at release either, and were still great because of the overall experience. I guess standards have changed though with new consoles and higher end PCs. A lot of people expect the good gameplay and the good graphics. A lot of people claim that Bethesda kind of had the attitude that graphics don't really matter because modders are going to fix all the graphics in the future as time goes on, and really that is true that modders are going to make the graphics better, but that's not really an excuse. Not everyone is going to be pleased with the graphics, although a lot of people are very satisfied with the graphics. I wouldn't say I'm thrilled with them, but I wouldn't say I'm disappointed either. Oh, the environment. Okay, let's start with the map. The map is not huge really in any stretch. Some say that it is bigger than Skyrim, but I might like to dispute that. They did great at maximizing the space though. There's a ton of random caves, buildings, and other places to explore all over the place. They kind of built this on from Skyrim. It is hard to walk for 3 to 5 minutes in any direction without really finding something to do. So that is a really good thing about the environment. Even though it's not big, they made the most out of their space. So unlike the previous Elder Scrolls games and Fallout games where they just had the night and day cycle, there's now actually weather as well. There's rain, which can come in the form of normal rain or also radiated rain, which means you better retreat and sleep the day away or head underground somewhere, because if you're out in the open, you can be in some serious trouble. The radiation that falls isn't really extreme. It would take a long time to kill you, but could easily get you some minor radiation poisoning relatively quickly actually. Having said that, I find the environment to be a little bit too colorful. I know it's 200 plus years after the war, but I still picture a post-apocalyptic environment being dark and gloomy. For me, Fallout 3 still has the best environment overall. Although to be fair, I haven't gotten too far into the game to really experience the full environment to its full potential and extent, but I cannot wait to do so. I really can't make a fair judgment about the environment until then. We can't really talk about a Bethesda game without talking about bugs. I only have the PC version, but there are plenty of things to work out. I know a lot of people like myself are experiencing the random frame rate drops on the PC. I don't know if that's happening on the consoles as well, but definitely randomly the frame rate seems to drop, especially in high detailed areas. I find when there's lots of trees and stuff like that. Sometimes when you're doing things that require slight animations like activating power armor or terminals, where the animation where you get in the terminal, or sorry, you get in the power armor or, you know, kneel down to the terminal, the game kind of bugs out for me and looks like my character is just walking forward constantly. I lose control and I have to reload. I can kind of look around a little bit and it looks like I'm kind of just, the camera's inside the body. I can see kind of the mesh of the body from the inside. It's kind of really weird. I wish I could have got it on video. Some objects like cars, if you happen to land on them, like if you jump over a balcony in a house and land on a car, sometimes you get stuck completely. You can't jump out or anything. You kind of have to reload. You can probably use console commands to reposition yourself, but I'm not too familiar with console commands yet for Fallout 4. There is also some small glitches when you're in menus. I find especially in build mode for settlements, I have to sometimes close out of the mode completely and go back in. It's not a huge deal, but it's just somewhat of a pain in the ass. So Bethesda definitely set the bar really high for this game. They significantly improved almost every aspect over New Vegas and Fallout 3 except for the environment, kind of in my opinion, but they set the bar really high for the next Elder Scrolls game as well. I really wouldn't say that it's a perfect game by any stretch, although there is a ton more to do. I find like the big settlement mode that everyone's talking about often gets dried out really fast and becomes boring and really way too slow paced. It's also a pain in the ass because every item now has a purpose. All the aluminum cans, all the ashtrays and bowls and stuff like that you normally would pass over, you now have to pick up. It's so easy to go to a new place like a cave or a big building and have to turn around halfway through because you're over encumbered from all the items you picked up. You have to now go back to a settlement, drop off all the stuff you picked up, and then go back. So that kind of gets to be a bit of a pain sometimes. Overall though, I'm really looking forward to finishing what's so far turning out to be a really awesome and great touching story. Although I don't find myself addicted like others have, And like I really was with Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, where hours felt like minutes, and it's really all I thought about. I could not wait to get home, and you know, time just went so fast. But this might just be me aging and having a lot more stuff on the go with the training and whatnot. But it's really unfair to say that it is because of the game itself. Overall though, I can't wait to see what this game has in store in the future in terms of the DLC and in terms of mods, and I cannot wait to do more mod reviews for everybody for Fallout 4, and I cannot wait to unleash more content. Please let me know what you guys think in the comments down below of the review and of the game itself, and I can't wait to see what you guys have to say. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel. Have a great day. Peace.